Tuesday, January 18th. And the start time is 5:35. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. All right, so first up on our agenda tonight is the review of the capital requests. We have 5 specific areas we're going to be addressing tonight: assessors, board of health, parks and rec, information technology, and library. So without further ado, let's talk about what has been submitted by the assessors.
We do have some backup information from them as well.
Okay.
Places so you can see that.
That's okay, I'm fine. Oh. Why is Ed Swartz calling me now? I thought he moved. Okay, I'm just gonna share the screen as well, just so folks watching at home can see what we're referencing. Why is it? Oh my God. Come on, I don't care about the news. Sorry, everyone. No, I don't want to see more. Come on, Mike. This is really not planned. Okay. So we're sharing, yes. So we should be all set now.
All right,
So,
what version of the file are you sharing, Mike?
So this is the file that we sent out in advance of the last capital outlay meeting. I don't believe there were any changes to it at our last meeting because all the data was there and we couldn't do anything with it.
Okay, so this is the one that's dated 12/16 then?
Yeah, yes, yep.
Thank you. Okay. So, in the assessor's requests, we have essentially $5,000 for 2023 through 2027 for near map. Do we have anybody from the assessors to explain what near map is and what it does and why it's so important?
We don't have any, but I just actually realized, just for us and anyone else looking at the explanation on the comments, those comments were from another capital plan, and I didn't actually take them out for this, but near map does have nothing to do with capiting. I didn't want to confuse anybody.
Okay.
And I don't see anyone from the assessors with us, but I can provide a little bit of backup if that's okay in terms of helping to inform the conversation.
Yes.
So one of the things as I think we knew as we went forward into this, whole process is gonna is that there was actually a potential where an overlap would exist between proposed actually operational expenses and capital expenses. And this is actually one of them. So as you'll see for the next 5 fiscal years, that so that the software is proposed as a capital expense, but it's actually but the software is operational in nature. So like in one of the things in the assessor's office, actually provided backup. So like in the last few years, DOR. So in the last few years, DOR has worked favorably. So actually on this type of assessing technology, so you can see in the attachments, I like actually. So actually that the division local services provided in the PowerPoint. So they talked about what the future of cyclical inspections would look like. So like so as you go through the PowerPoint, especially on page 4, they begin to reference electronic technology. So, and then on page then on page 5 they talk about like orthophoto technology. So I think this is what the assessor's office was trying to get at.
Okay, so basically it's using this tool to use some sort of satellite imagery that's being provided by near map, we'll call it, to essentially allow our assessors to compare what property looks like current day versus what it might have looked like 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, 1 year ago.
Or even 1 year ago.
Yep.
Or from year to year. My only question is probably more operational in nature, which is obviously how often is the imagery being updated and is there an automated way for the imagery to just notify the assessor's office, hey, the property at this address has changed substantially from the last image. And then at that point it becomes operational, right? Which is, I'm sure the board of the assessor's office goes to the building inspector or goes and looks up to see if there's been building permits and so on.
Yes.
See if all that type of stuff has been filed. So to me, this is truly operational in nature. And I think Brenda, based on your past experience, what we talked about at the last meeting, that this is the kind of information that needs to be budgeted for on an annual basis in the particular department's budget.
Okay.
So I would say that this just be classified as an operational expense.
Right, because it's a subscription service, it's not a
Yeah, that's year after year after year.
tangible.
Yep. No, that's fine. Like I just wanted to bring it forward out. Like there could have existed a gray area, so I just wanted to get that clarity. So thank you.
No, and I think that's one of our purposes is to be able to say, this is a recurring operational expense. It needs to be budgeted for in our operating budget as opposed to going into our capital budget. Okay.
So does that mean you don't have any capital expenses then?
No, this is the only thing they outlined as a priority and as a request. So other than that, they don't have any at this moment.
And are they, based on the last finance committee meeting,
Yes.
and what happened at special town meeting with the
Yes.
consultant
Right.
budget,
Yes.
is that now going to be part of the operational budget?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's an operational expense, and they're gonna build that into the operational budget, so we don't actually leave that question up there
Right.
every year.
Great,
That makes sense.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's very important to us.
All right. Seeing as how that's all for Board of Assessors, let's go ahead and move on to the Board of Health. And we can see that they have submitted 3 requests this year for all around the transfer station. So we're talking about a point of contact payment system. Just at the transfer station. Okay, we're talking about replacing a couple of roll-off containers, 2 new ones at $6,000 each, and then a new transfer station building for the attendant. So on the point of contact payment system, my questions, concerns around that are specifically around, not that I don't think they need it there, but I think we as a town should be looking at a holistic solution for any point of contact payment system. So I'm assuming at the town clerk's office that if we can put a point of contact, payment system in there,
Well,
that would save us a
you
whole lot.
already have something online for the fire department.
I had the fire, I also have the clerks, and I also have the building. Well, you can go online and pay.
So that's for being able to go online and pay,
Right.
So,
but
does the Board of Health have something in mind, a company or how it works?
Tom, does the Board of Health have they investigated this point of contact system? And
Not
who's the vendor?
totally. We just got a idea of cost from Matt Tanis. He said they had it in Hanson. And their system was $11,000, which is where the dollar amount came from. That was a few years ago from that number.
Okay.
It just seems to me that we have an antiquated system up there. Everything is handwritten on hand receipts, and we have over 35 items that we have to list, and it would be nice if we could get some control over volume and revenue on the items. But, you know, the process is working, but, you know, in the future, I think we should think about upgrading it, especially if we're thinking about making that another area where the highway department may go. So, you know, it's one of the things, this is kind of our wish list. It would certainly save us a lot of time, or some people a lot of time, as far as, you know, if we could use credit cards, that would be a plus, but don't see that happening in the future.
Yeah, I don't know how it would work. I know, you know, a lot of,
I mean, if there's any consideration, we could get someone to come in for a presentation.
That'd be helpful. Do we have any idea who the town of Hanson uses, Tom?
What's that?
Do you know who the vendor is that the town of Hanson is using?
No, I don't, but we could find that out.
So Tom, that's you brought up a good point that it's not the highest of priority. If you had to rank these 3 yourself, what's 1, 2, and 3 for you?
Well, you know, if we're talking, again, I'm going to go back to future plans for the transfer station, I mean, the highway department. I don't know when that is going to happen, but I feel that part of the process
Mhm.
would be to, at that time, put a new building up there. I mean, if it's gonna be 10 years, I think we need a building now, but consideration at that time with that expensive, moving the DPW would be a good time to look at a new shed and also the point of contact payment system. And I don't even know how old those buildings are. I know the transfer station opened up sometime in the 70s when the old one closed down. And we used to call it the town dump, and I drive in there now and it does look like the town dump. So kind of looking to upgrade something, more professional and not just being a so-called dump.
So then, Tom, we need to make the hard decisions here. So what I'm hearing you say is that the building itself would be what the Board of Health would consider to be their number one priority then. And then the point of contact system, and then the roll-off containers. Is that correct?
Well, our containers are in tough shape too, but yeah, I think a building would be in order first, maybe for FY '23, and our containers, we own 7 of them. We just had to repair 2 and bought 1 with our IDP funds, the recycling grant. And they were like close to 2,000 for a repair. And they only last so long, even though they're steel, but if we can do this year by year, if maybe the building and then the roll-offs and a point of, the roll-offs are working. And if necessary, if we need to repair them before we plan on it, then we'll figure that out. But I would agree with you, I think the building would come first and then the roll-offs.
Okay. So the building, then roll-offs, and then point of contact then?
I think so.
Okay. All right. And
What we're trying to do also with the new building, we
Mhm.
planned on a 10 by 20, which is, we got the figure from Jim Agia as an estimated cost on the building. And we were planning like an 8 by 10 area for the attendant and a 12 by 10 area, if that comes out to, the right, 12 by 10 and 8 by 10, 12 by 10 for a swap shed. Instead of a lot of things that we are now tossing out and this money to get rid of, there may, somebody's, that old saying that one person's junk is another person's treasure. And the goal of that is to see if we can take some of it out of the stream. And, who knows? We also get a point on the RDP grant, having a swap shed, which is not a whole lot of money, $600, but all in all, we've been averaging $5,400 a year on the RDP grant. So bottom line, I think we should go with the building, the containers, and then the point of contact system.
okay.
So how does the swap shed work?
Well, people bring stuff
Who
in.
decides?
The stuff, they bring in stuff that they maybe don't want, like a good piece of furniture, leave it there, or some other lamp, whatever. And
So somebody monitoring that, or?
yeah, you pick up, you go in, you pick up something, or you leave something. It's all free.
Yeah,
It's,
I get the
well,
concept.
yeah. So Tom, what happens then? I leave the couch there.
Yeah.
The attendant says, hey, this is in good shape. Nobody takes it for 6 weeks. Does it go into the dumpster then? And we didn't collect anything at that point?
We talking the stuff that's there. I think we could find a place to donate it, to be honest with you. There are a lot of places out there that will take good used furniture or household items.
Maybe you don't look at those places.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're getting into the operational aspect of this and we can, you know, we'll let the Board of Health work out the logistics on that. We're here just to try to figure out how can we try to fund these things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're inquisitive by nature, but let's, we're gonna get back on track with the funding.
That is gonna be part of the building, you do really want that,
Yeah.
you know,
I know down in Centerville, where my son used to live, they had a swap in the building.
and people,
Yep.
like, I'm gonna sell this on eBay, so I just
Right.
take it in my truck and load it
Yeah,
up.
could be. Yeah.
But then again, it's gone.
Yep.
Right.
But then who purges, you know, is it more help needed to monitor it,
I get it.
I guess.
So I just have one question, Tom, like in terms of like the interrelation here with the shed and the building. Oh, you know, like, and then as the shed and the building relate to the feasibility study with, so then as the shed and the building, like, as that project relates to the feasibility study from the highway department to look like actually at that whole property and how we envision and plan forward. So do you anticipate that actually funding the shed would need to wait until we at least have a plan for the property through a feasibility study or some type of plan?
Yeah, and add the building at that time?
Yeah, like I'm asking an open-ended question. Do you think that the funding of the shed on the attendance area should wait until we have a whole more universal plan for the property in the entirety there? Like, what do you think hypothetically funding a shed before then wouldn't really matter as long as we bought a portable shed? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess all I can say is that's an option. I mean, altogether here, we're looking at what, $35,000, and we can't all get it in 1 year. It'd be, wouldn't make any sense to try to do that. I think working on the priority of what we need the most
Yeah.
is the best angle. The building, if we're looking at moving the highway over there within the next couple of years or under 5, then, you know, possibly we wait on the building, but the roll-offs are important also. Point of contact, we'll keep doing it the way we're doing it, and it does take, I think, some more time, but when the town is ready to go with credit cards and point of service systems, then we can do it all at one time, maybe. I don't know.
So just one other quick question, like I know in other buildings up there actually exist structural issues in the buildings that are being used. So like in the current attendance area, like in the other spaces in the swap shed or that the attendant uses, are there like any structural public safety issues right now, do you know of?
Not that I know of. The building has been there a while. I don't think it's structurally unsafe. Well, I don't know. It's, you know, it's something I think that needs to be addressed within the next year or two. And to be honestly, holding off, I think we're better served at this point to get some new roll-off containers and put the swap shed with the in the building with the move of the highway department.
Okay.
My board may disagree with me, but you know, the roll-off containers don't last forever either.
Okay,
So Tom, I have a question. We had asked for a 5-year capital expense plan. Is this a 5-year? Do you think this is what you're gonna be spending in the next 5 years?
Yeah, if we can accomplish these things over the next 5 years, you know, like I said, it depends. The building, I think it makes sense to wait for the highway department and what they make a part of the plan. So if that's gonna be within the next 5 years, yeah, and will the town be ready in 5 years for a point of service system?
All good questions.
We could do it now.
All good questions.
We could do it now, actually.
All right.
I mean, I could create another account with Unibank and they could do it through the bank.
Probably pretty easy. I mean, I'm with vendors
Mhm.
like craft fair vendors, they all have these little things, you just keep your credit card
Yeah,
in.
right.
So somehow
Exactly.
the fee is gonna be charged to the person.
Right.
Something.
Okay.
I'd be interested to see my hands that does it, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Board of Health from their requests? All right. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, thanks, have a good night. I think I'll go eat now.
All right,
Take care.
Parks, thanks
You
to Tom. Parks and Rec. So we have many requests here, totaling a little bit more than $700,000, but all within the next 2 years. I'm assuming you're Parks and Rec?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, your name, please?
Kevin Smith.
Hey, Kevin. Go ahead, let's go ahead and,
So the good news is, right off the bat, 3 of those we can knock right off the list. So the 3 walkway projects were part of our MOD grant. So those are all being grant funded, so we don't have to worry about those at all. And then I just, because obviously we're all kind of somewhat new to this process, but me in particular. So I think on a couple of them, like the 2 playground, the actual playground structures that I put in there, I had just put at whatever year it was and beyond, like, or after. And I'm not sure that those would be, like, if I had to give a more honest view of where we're at, like I couldn't, because right now we're trying to do the North Layton playground, which is CPC money, or hopefully CPC money. I don't think we're gonna like try to tackle, $150,000 playground every year. It might be, 2 to 3 years before we maybe say address School Lane, and then 2 years after that, try to address Lane Field. But those properties, like the equipment that's there is at the end of its age, so it's something that's on our radar, and I would like to think that I would be very proactive in seeking grants to fund those type of projects. Anyhow, and not do it through, just a warrant article. The one, I think the biggest ticket item I had that's kind of on our immediate radar that ties back into the walkway projects that we're doing through the grant are the parking lots. Because we're gonna establish these really nice walkways in the parks, and then you're gonna park on gravel or traverse, unlevel terrain to get to them. So those 3 projects for the parking areas were my 3 immediate projects that I'd like to really look after, and then the other ones I would think would get spread out over a little bit more time than what I originally indicated when I submitted the request.
So that is 33 plus 24,000. And then plus another 18,900 in terms of the paving and parking lots.
Yes, yeah, because I think it ended up being right around 99, right?
Okay. So looking this, so CPC, do they fund parking lots at playgrounds?
Absolutely.
They don't, okay.
And that's a tricky one too, because actually, when we originally started the conversation about the MOD grant, is we thought about including those projects in that, but like the requirements from an ADA perspective where you need 1 or 2 parking spots, not a, 40 by 120 parking, the whole parking lot. So I think it becomes the responsibility of like the Parks and Recs Commission to find, and that's also, I don't think there's any grant opportunities for just parking lots, so I don't see any other way to fund that type of project other than just through a warrant article.
Okay, so in that case, you're talking about Lane Field, the courts,
In the
And
bottom.
school
and
lane.
School Lane. So you're talking. So you're talking about $77,000
Mhm.
roughly in paving.
This one, your list here had 99.5.
So actually, I think, so what happened there, I think I sent over the entire bid, and I might have blacked out part of it, but I'm not sure. So when we had that, so that property right now, the way that that parking lot is set up, it's divided, so our courts are on the right-hand side, and then Mr. Ferry and the highway department utilized the left-hand side of it. When the contractor came out, he had quoted it as but he did break it out. I think that 99,000 shows if we paved that entire parking lot,
Okay.
and then he had separated just the portion that would be considered Parks and Rec. Because obviously it wasn't in our interest to pave more than just what we needed.
Okay.
So the paving projects are the only immediate and really realistic projects that we have. The other one that's on there too, that's kind of the Tricentennial Park project, that's something that I think if we did the project that we were thinking of there, that would be done exclusively if we were awarded a grant. We wouldn't plan that project and ask, neither CPC nor taxpayers to fund that project. That's something if we had the opportunity to obtain a grant, because there are opportunities for that particular piece of property that we're gonna explore, but we wouldn't, go after it if we didn't get awarded a grant. I mean, there might be a small ask, for, from whether it be the highway department, or we might need to, there might be like some small, much smaller ask of, whether it be benches, picnic tables, etc. And I did try to list that in there, that, that it's gonna be CPC or grants for that particular.
Right.
Okay, so one quick question, Ken, what is, I should know this anyways, but so year to date with Parks and Rec's budget, what's remaining out of that $23,000 roughly?
I just did this last night, so actually out of our, which are called, the biggest portion of our budget is 16.5, which is our maintenance and repairs. We've only spent, it's mostly just been the fees that we paid for Porter Johns. And the reason why we're kind of a little bit behind in spending is we used encumbered money from last year to repay the basketball court. And we did a ton of stuff at the end of last year, where we just had this discussion last night in our meeting that we're gonna start moving towards. We have a fair amount of stuff that needs to be replaced moving into the spring and summer months. That budget I don't think is ever gonna support a parking lot though, because, just if that's what you're referencing, because I would expend my entire budget on one parking lot, and then, if a swing set breaks, then
No,
dead
this
in
is
the
a
water for the rest of
one-time,
the year.
it's a one-time expense, so that's a capital
Right.
planning thing.
And then we had 3,200, which is our recreational supplies, which went towards the firecracker. We used a little over half of that so far this year. And then just to give a little bit more background, so for School Lane and Lane Field, for those playgrounds, I used that figure of 150. And that's kind of modeled off of where we're at with equipment for the North Titan playground that we designed. But those properties are extremely different, where I don't think we'd even do something of that scale. So I think realistically, if say 2-3 years from now we did School Lane, that project might be a $75,000 project. I don't foresee us, trying to. There's not a need to have, 5 different playground apparatus apparatuses in town that, you know, are all $150,000, $200,000 players.
Any other questions on this?
I don't,
I think it's pretty clear, and you've done a good job of seeking additional funding, which obviously, you know, for the townspeople is a great benefit if we can secure some of these grants. I don't think that, you know, you've given us what your priority is, which is, you know, the paving of the lots. And then yours is almost looking like closer to a 10-year plan, with spreading the playground equipment upgrades, over, you know, 2 to 3 year increments.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, by doing that, you'll hopefully more grants become available and
Absolutely.
actually be able to secure some of those.
Yeah, and it's not to say with some of those projects, with the exception of tricentennial, because if like that happens through grants, that will be one big project. But that's not to say that we couldn't piece by piece replace pieces of equipment in the other parks within our budget, as well, so.
Great.
When-
And you have an ADA committee person who is working with you guys?
I am on the.
Oh, you're on, okay, perfect.
But, yeah, so anything that we do, like I work hand in hand with the ADA coordinator.
Okay,
So,
Awesome.
I always double check with him on everything that we're doing.
because that's one thing we certainly don't want to do is not consider everything that needs to be taken into account and then pay for something
Right,
and then have to go just rip it out because it doesn't conform with.
absolutely. No, that's probably one of our big, like, top priorities, doing anything is not so much ADA compliance, but like inclusion, trying to go above and beyond, so.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
okay.
And then we have information technology.
So I can take that one, I can pull up so, where we have started with on IT, has been, we admittedly have more work to do. And and I am happy to announce that, the $15,000 for the website accessibility upgrades, that project has also been funded by the $150,000 MOD grant, that we got as well. So that takes that project off of the priority list. We also, and then in the terms of the 27,255, I believe I included the list, of projects included in the packet. We in working with our network administrator in the fall, we applied for a state grant, in the amount of $17,000 that we were awarded to update our network infrastructure. So at the time though, we thought the state grant was going to be more all-encompassing. So we came up with an inventory of all our needs, and we documented. So essentially another 27,000 over and above the 17,000 we received. So I'm just actually trying, if I knew the alphabet here, I'd be actually able to pull it up. But so in the the priorities we came up with were, actually a list of, actually monitors, PCs, actually upgrades to our mail server and RAMs. We would upgrade the systems and dispatch as well. We would also make similar upgrades at the fire department to the server with 3 new PCs and monitors, with a net card as well. And then one other thing, as we're using town hall, I'm sorry, as we're using Old Town Hall more and more, like we thought like about like an LCD projector for Old Town Hall. With like a ceiling and wall mount for the projectors as well. So like we have, so like in term, so even though we've outlined all this, we do need to get, so even though we've outlined all this, we do want to come up with a schedule for like all of our departments and what their computer needs are. I can have that like all, so and have that all in one database that's regularly funded each year as part of the plan. So like we have, so yeah, I do have work to do on that. So the $27,000 is really a start that we know we have more to do. So at this point, if there's any questions on any of that. Like in the detail is in the binders in the packet as well, but I sent out last month. In terms of how we got there. Any questions?
No, I think for some of the equipment, some of the higher ticket items, if you will, that are kind of one-offs, we know, it's something that we might only be purchasing like once every 10 years, like let's say a new projector system in Old Town Hall is gonna cost us 70 grand, let's say, that we break it out from this 27,000 or flip it over to the other side. What's the plan for computer replacements? Is it gonna be, is it gonna be $8,000 annually? And as long as we've got that number, that's gonna, stay pretty steady year after year, then we'll be able to start seeing.
Instead of everybody's individual budgets.
Yeah, like everyone up until now, the last year and a half, we have been trying to put more of that in our data processing budget, but it's a work in progress. So like we have some departments who are really good at it. So like, and then we have other departments who obviously we're trying to pull and yank them along. Like as we would expect, but it is a priority, especially, FY23, in our FY23 budget, letter, we asked all of our departments to separate out. So to separate out their technology. So and actually to quantify that need as well. So like we hope, so hopefully that will be helpful. Hopefully that will be helpful in this as well.
Yeah.
It does.
And then the only other thing that we want to keep in mind is that there may be a need to keep specialty items out of here. And the thing that comes to my mind is our communications department. So obviously anything there, they might have a shorter life cycle, whatever, but obviously we don't want to be just lumping in public safety equipment with our general IT needs. Okay, so there's one thing to be said about what do we need in order to support the townspeople from a public safety standpoint, and then what do we need to operate the town, basically run the town, okay? Because obviously running the town, if a computer goes down, there's still gonna be plenty of work to do, I'll use air quotes there. Meaning that whoever computer that just died isn't gonna not have work to do. When we're talking about a public safety computer, we need it replaced immediately.
I mean, I thought, so into that end, Mr. Chairman, in the packet, you'll see that we have, and the lieutenant actually listed out, it's actually operational needs, for the IMC system, to the tune of to the tune of $18,000 a year, which is now built into the operational budget. So I thought I would have actually like created, I'm wondering if I actually did it in the police budget itself. I don't actually think I did,
No.
so I might need to. Yeah, I have to like, add that in because we did get that request. It is an operational expense, but he did want to flag that for us. He has IMC software that we pay regularly for our subscription to, that we fund every year out of the communications budget.
Okay.
To the tune of 18 grand, but again, it's operational in nature, but it does vary. Oh yeah, like it's well in excess of the $5,000 a year.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I still honestly think that we should not try to contain those items in our in our capital.
No, I agree completely.
So if it's not in here, then I would, and it's already included in operational,
Just leave it.
I would just leave it.
Okay.
I mean. Because our recommend, I mean, that's what they're gonna submit requests to us, and then one of the very first questions, this could be 3 years from now, the department head comes in and says, hey, I need X number of dollars to do this. Is this gonna be a recurring expense?
Yep.
Yes, it is, okay, that really needs to go in your operating budget, so we're not gonna entertain it here. And that just goes to the town floor as part of their operating expense, that's all. So, okay. All right, any other questions on IT?
So is everything on that list new stuff or replacement stuff, or a little bit of each?
So on the list, and I can actually share this as well. Like I should have put it online. So it's all actually like upgrades and new equipment to replace current equipment. So there'd be one laptop that would be replaced, there'd be a Surface that would be replaced, PC and monitors that would be upgraded and replaced as well. The same thing with our backups. For the server and for the emails in town hall. And basically the same type of things at the police and fire departments as well. Yep, that's right.
Okay. More questions?
I don't have any.
Oh, what the heck happened then?
Yeah, on to library, next time, Jocelyn.
I'm just trying to.
So with the library, we're looking for money for a feasibility study.
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm just assuming that the price in here, 140,000, is in line with what we normally see for our feasibility studies.
That's included with the fire station?
So it would be 140,000 for the library, and then an additional amount from the fire. Additional amount for a fire station feasibility study as well.
Okay, so this is just the library portion. This
Yes.
truly does represent the library portion.
I would expect the library portion to be about
Hold on a second.
70 or 80. I thought the 140 was a combined.
Hold on a second. I'm just gonna pull that up. Give me 1 minute. Okay, the library. The library below the cost, the town of Swansea is currently planning for the second study of their library project. The town has submitted a grant application in the current MBLC round, but like Dayton, they were unhappy with the overall design and solution. They have decided to also hire a new OPM and plan on hiring a new architect shortly, and want to have a new budget and project ready for town meeting, the fall of 2022. So the cost for that, is the architect would be $75,000. The owner's project manager would be another $39,000. And then the contingency costs that are incorporated into that is an additional $25,000. So I believe that comes up right around 140. Yeah, 139,000. So the 140 is completely for the library.
I misunderstood that part.
So and then on top of that, we also have the modular unit. So we have the modular unit on the town hall campus now. And that costs $20,000 a year to rent. So that will, at least for FY23, based on our current plans and the fact that we don't actually have an interim, that will be $20,000 for FY23 if we keep it for the next fiscal year as well.
Okay. No, there is no great answer. I mean,
So you don't have another plan where it could go? Because is there MBLC okay with leasing that trailer park?
They're supposed to come down in February to take a look at it. Learn more. I know they don't want this to be a permanent solution.
I don't think the townspeople want this to be a permanent
No.
solution, so, all right. We are currently spending money on the Carnegie Building, correct?
We, of the $105,000 that was appropriated as first term in November of 2020, we went out and had drawings done for the egress and for the accessible restroom. Also that included a new accessible ramp.
Is Ronald Connell trying to get on?
Oh,
I see his name up there.
I'm sorry, thank you. So, hi, Ron, are you there? Okay. So, on the $105,000 that was appropriated, special town meeting in November 2020, we to date have spent about 15,000 of that for the architectural drawings. So we got the architectural drawings back in October. So the cost of doing everything that was proposed in the drawings came up to around $330,000. That well exceeded obviously the 105. So that's why working with the building commissioner, we're trying to reassess and determine how much we can do in-house. So that's where that is, and that is another factor in the conundrum that we face.
Because one thing that I'm gonna say about this is, if we're doing a feasibility study to just put the new building or an actual new library building at the same site, then what are we doing with the old building? Are we moving the building? Or, does it have any historical value? Are we just gonna tear it down? Because why invest any additional money into it if all we're gonna do is,
Feasibility study would encompass multiple sites
Mhm.
to determine where the best site for a building would be, or
That's
library
not
building.
gonna say.
okay,
It's a small site, it's too
Okay.
small.
The current.
so we're not locked into Main Street, the Main Street.
No,
Okay.
oh, no,
We were-
no.
Thank you.
We
Yeah.
were.
Okay,
Because
right, because of the
um,
CP uses of CPC funds for some of it as well? No?
No, we were because, the grant
The grant.
pertains to that site.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now we're open. Can be anywhere in town.
Yes.
A
Okay.
feasibility
So-
study can look at,
But the grant, we have to start all over again.
right,
Right,
if we got state funding, we would have to.
So yeah, like at the end of the day, if we were to get state grant funding, that's still a big if, we'd have to go through that process. However, we also have the potential to use ARPA funding if we can locate another building. And at the end of last week, the Treasury, they loosened up completely the guidelines on ARPA funding. So like we can claim up to $10 million in revenue replacement funding where we basically don't, so for the $2.3 million in funding we don't have to have any restrictions on. So if we found another location, that's why we're kind of holding back on ARPA right now. So if we found another property in Dayton that if we found another property, we could potentially use that funding for that. So we are exploring that, but that's really all I can say at this point.
okay,
Like if it's already town property.
So it offers private property as well.
yeah, we're not limited if it's available, right? If we do look at property,
Mm-hmm.
we still have to put the building up. Or are some of the properties, do they have existing structures that could be modified to house a library?
Arguably, hypothetically, the savings if we find a property with an existing building. So in terms of the Main Street building, so like it is a historic building, it is a Carnegie Building. So in working with the CPC and the Board of Selectmen, we could determine what the future of that building is.
So the Carnegie Building will never be torn down. The town may be able to use it for something else.
Yeah.
But we haven't been given the money, but we were accepted for the addition to the Carnegie Building. It was an $8 million project. State was gonna give us $4 million. We would have to match it with $4 million. My position's always been that wasn't a feasible plan. Given the small parking lot, it's gonna destroy the look of the Andrew Carnegie building. So we are seeking other options and we'll see how it works out.
So you're looking at permanent options or temporary options,
I'll say permanent, I won't be speaking for Mike, but permanent.
permanent options.
I submitted two requests, one for the feasibility study and one because that's not,
Yeah.
So even though you termed your second one as a midterm library location, that could ultimately just be the long term. If we find the right piece of property in building.
If it works out.
Yeah. Okay.
I just know that we're gonna need a temporary space between now and whenever that location will be ready. So I guess that's
A short
the
term.
other piece of it.
How many square feet do you need?
Well, we have about 12 square feet now, and we had 3,000 at the Carnegie Building, which about, I would guess, maybe 1,500 was public or usable. That might be a little high even, because downstairs was what it was.
Right.
But the floor was about 1,000.
No. The plans from way back when.
The ones over here, the new
ones over
construction.
How many square feet was that, do you remember?
I think it was, between 12 and 15,000. It might have been closer to 15,000. Oops. I have some guidelines for sizing.
And population is growing,
Right,
kilometers,
right.
probably would be sufficient.
So for a town of 8,000, the median size, building size in square feet for a small library is maybe 13 or 14,000 square feet. That's at the 75th percentile. But that doesn't necessarily incorporate any growth if we're
Right.
looking at. This was a survey done by the state. That's looking at what's out there now.
Okay, so I think from a capital outlay committee vantage point on this is we know our library trustees are doing their due diligence and searching for what's available midterm. Hopefully we can get an update in about a month with regards to how that is looking. And then in a month, we would also have a better idea of what we're gonna do in terms of the feasibility study, because I don't think there's any doubt that we'll need one for library and for Station 1. So obviously economies of scale, you're employing the same company, right?
Yeah,
So we save some money by getting the same company to do it.
yeah, put everything out under the same contract.
Right.
For the same architect and for the same OPM.
Are there architects who can handle the needs of a fire station and?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned, yeah,
Have done both?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what we would do, have the same
I
architect.
understand, but do they exist?
Yes, they do,
Okay.
yes.
My concern is that,
Yeah, no, they absolutely
all
exist.
right.
Any other questions for council?
So all this is hitting at once, obviously, but the opportunity, and I don't wanna put actually too much in it, but the opportunity we have through the APA funding that we have available. So it's why we're really doing our due diligence right now. Like, I think all of us understand the library is a priority, and it's a very, very, very top priority. So we're doing everything we can to look at any and all.
So even
any and all options.
Even if you have a short-term plan, it's gonna be short-term for multiple years. If you're gonna wait for a new plan and a new grant and get to the bottom of the list again.
So that's only assuming we're gonna do a new build. And we're gonna go after the MBLC funding.
Right.
And if we don't do that, we don't have a lot of the strings that come attached
Right.
to the MBLC funding as well. They're very strict,
Yeah.
extremely strict in what they're actually able and willing to fund. I mean, one of the things we need to so over on how we need to elevate it. So if we're looking at doing a feasibility study, maybe hypothetically, we do an addition on Town Hall. And have a community area that includes a library that has a shared elevator hall. So and that's what we could potentially look at in the feasibility study as well. So it's everything is at once, and we're trying to actually separate everything out and be very methodical about how we approach it.
All right, any other questions, Ethan? All right.
Thanks,
Thank you. Thanks, Joshua.
Thank you too.
All right. So we got through all the departments' requests that were on the agenda. Did everybody have a chance to go through the minutes for the last 4 meetings? No, Brenda, you weren't at, plus you were only there for the last one, but,
Yeah.
everybody's comfortable then? Do anybody have any questions on what was captured? I think they were very thorough myself. Although I will say they scanned a little bit about water cycle.
Oh, were they really? Oh, no.
But I was able to connect the dots, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it was fun. So if there are no questions on the minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
A motion to approve the minutes.
Motion made by Mary. Is there a second? Second by Brenda.
So just for the record, if I could just read the minutes we're approving,
Yes.
if that's okay. So April 28th, 2021, June 24th, 2021, August 25th, 2021, September 22nd, 2021. The October meetings are not on the agenda, but we have Thursday, December 16th, 2021. So those sets of minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. You said December 16th, correct?
Yes.
Yes, that'll cover all of them. Okay. Since we do have one member who is off-site, we will do a roll
Can you get a
call.
second?
Yes, Brenda. So we'll do a roll call voting. Janelle?
Hi. Janelle, Barney.
Thank you for your contribution, Janelle.
All right. You don't want to hear me talk anyways.
Thanks, Janelle.
Brenda?
Yes.
I'm not,
You're not voting, that's correct. Mary is a yes.
And I'm a yes as well.
Mike is yes, and I am a yes.
We don't have
Right. Motion passes. So, next is, related committee discussion. So this is any and all things now, it's kind of our open forum. I think obviously, once you start asking people what their priorities are, you know, we're gonna have to put them on the spot. They need to start making hard decisions on their own, right? And so we've heard a lot of things come off the table tonight, but we also got some sense of priority from them as well. So we need to keep asking those hard questions, right? Because the more we can whittle it down to what is really gonna be coming up and what we need to plan for, then the better off we are. So we heard Board of Health, you know, that point of contact system, it'd be great to have. I totally agree. It'd make the attendance job super easy. I can see myself retiring in that shed. But I think there's, you know, that needs, those kinds of things need to be looked at in the grand scheme of things. Mary is already using some similar systems and what, you know, we just add on to that, you know, what does it take, you know, and I don't know what kind of network connectivity we have out there, but again, you know, if that ends up becoming the new highway department property, and we put, you know, we're gonna end up putting networking and Wi-Fi capabilities out there, so you don't have to really worry about what kind of signal they're gonna be getting on this point of contact system. So, not needless to say, you know, and I think it'll pay for itself, honestly, in we're gonna start accurately capturing revenue. We're gonna not have to deal with return checks and chasing people down. We're gonna, we should have better data collection for Board of Health to use when negotiating the rates with our vendors. So, I mean, it all makes sense. And for me, and I've been looking at all of you, and Janelle, you're included in here as well. You're all in the public sector. I'm used to working in the private sector, but there are a lot of things that can be applied to the public sector. And it's, you know, how do we just keep running the business and making it better? Look at those process improvements. And if we can keep tackling some of these things so that we make people's jobs easier so that they can then spend that time on the more difficult stuff, then we'll be in a better position to address the bigger issues like planning and funding. So that's my take on all of this. So I think we're really starting to pick up some steam here. I think, you know, I thought it was great what Kevin said, that they've already gotten some grant money. And, you know, Mike filled us in on the IT budget, and the fact that we got some grant money there. And, you know, that's, you know, if they're thinking about it and we're starting to, you know, put it in front of it and make it visible to them, you know, and same thing with Kevin, right? You know, he doesn't need all 3 playgrounds upgraded next year in FY '24.
Right.
He wants to spread them out, that's great. Start chasing that grant money now, right? So,
So what did we end up with dollars of what is already? I mean, when we something out.
yeah, I mean, so we took out the Board of Assessors $5,000, that's operating costs now.
So
Board of Health is still, I mean, all Open 3 of their requests all told together was only,
45, if you wanna say?
yeah, was it
So
even that high?
those are gonna be spread out over 3 years?
Well, I
Two or three,
think,
or-
so, I mean, if you look at it. Well, we know the highway department isn't gonna happen next year, right? It's just not gonna happen, so do we spend the $20,000 on a building that we're gonna end up moving?
Yeah.
Somewhere on that property, possibly? Or is it gonna sit on that, that location for the next 5 years until the highway department ends up moving there? That's always a possibility, so is it a good idea to spend $20,000 now? Or is that gonna be incorporated into whatever new building goes up there? So that's kind of one of those, we don't know what we don't know. We do know that they need to replace their roll-off containers. Okay, so, and that's probably something we should be looking at funding next year. Small spend, it's 12 grand,
But
they're just asking for 2 of them. And then Parks and Rec, again,
Okay.
yeah, just, again, it's $77,000, I believe, is right there, so you're looking at 89,000 thus far for that, and then, after that was IT, which was,
27, but that's incomplete, so.
yeah, I think 27,000 doing everything that we've identified, knowing that there's still more to identify, but some of this can be scheduled and stretched out, but even if we said 27,000, now you're at, 9 and 27 would be 116. If my math is right.
You're right around there, say 120.
Okay, so we're at 120, and then the feasibility study for the library.
And right now, just, as we talk about the FY23 funding opportunities, our free cash, like until next year's fall town meeting, we have about, I wanna say around $430,000 left in, what was certified in October.
Yeah.
So and we like to have a holdback a little bit, and that's really what we're looking at in terms of a funding source if we were to use free cash.
So. But we haven't hit the big departments yet.
No.
So,
So yeah, the next 2 meetings, so the next meeting, just to, I guess, prepare everyone. So at our next meeting is gonna be sewer, which they haven't emphasized fund. But we thought it was important. So we thought it was important to include their needs in the capital plan, even though they have a dedicated funding source. I like that we have the historical commission, but then we have the fire department, the highway department, and then the police department all coming on February 1st. And then so then at our meeting, as I mentioned on February 15th, when we begin to rate, and try to plan what we're able to fund and how we're gonna fund it over the 5 years. We have the schools come to that meeting, and they've asked for around $600,000 in capital requests.
yeah. So the one question I have on the schools is that, let's see, where are we?
Is that the beginning, I think? Oh, I can pull it up too, I'm sorry.
So the only thing that's there, that's high school, is the ADA access to stage. And I gotta ask, don't they already have one? Don't they have that little lift off to the left?
I think it doesn't work now, I'm not sure.
So is this replaced then?
Is this our share?
Right, that was more where I was going with this, is this 100,000 our share, or is it the full amount? Yeah,
And I just wanted, because I was actually, I have monthly meetings with Dr. Azar. And so when the request was actually unclear what building it would be used at. So like I thought it was a high school, but he could have actually mentioned it was the DMS.
okay,
I'll follow up in advance of that meeting so we know.
okay. I'm just trying to remember that one. So there, I mean, I know it says elevator lift system, but is a ramp feasible as well?
I'm not sure. Yes.
I haven't been in the middle school cafeteria, whatever they call it, in quite a few years. So I don't recall if like off where the stairs are, if there is like doors for storage that would, you know, putting a ramp in would block all of that, and therefore then, yeah, it's not feasible, but, okay. All right. Anybody else have questions, comments in our open forum here? So then our next meeting is February 1st.
Yes. Here,
Here
5:30.
at 5:30. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
And second, Brenna, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Janelle, is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Janelle. Have a good night, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.